So this should be review for most of you, but we're going to go over proportional triangles. You all know the proportion equation formula. You set it up, you cross multiply, and then you isolate the variable to find your answer. So you're going to see that this is very similar, but there are a few extra steps. The first thing you need to do is figure out if the triangles are actually proportional. So we're going to mark up our triangles. So you can see that they look very similar. So here's my first side. I'm going to mark it like this. And that side matches up nicely to this side, so I'm going to put the same marking. Let's take a look at the next side we have. I see I have two more numbers where the X is, and I see that this side matches up with this side, so I give them the same markings. You can do the same thing with the angles. So if you see that this angle matches up with this angle, you can mark them similarly. Same thing over here, but this is a different angle, right? So I'd give it the double hash. Same thing up here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Another thing that we've done in the past is label each side. So you could call this side A, B, and C. Then you could do D, E, and F. Now, what if the triangles don't look exactly the same? Here you can see that these triangles are already marked up. The only difference is that the position of the triangles are different. So that's why marking up the triangles is very beneficial. You can see that they both have this 90-degree angle, right? So what I would be able to do is I would probably rotate this to the right and set it up, and you can see that once it's rotated that way, they match up, right? Here's Z, X, Y, this side, and this side. So you can see that they are the same. You just needed to turn one. So keep that in mind. Let's start getting into the proportion setup now. All right, we're going to give it a go. So the sides have already been labeled. We have A to B is 15, B to C is 27, and A to C is 21. Y to Z is unknown, Z to X is 14, and Y to X is 10. And we can also see that we have 75-degree angles in both of these. Are they in the same position though? What do I need to do to put them in the same position? Who's got the answer? All right, Miss Beatty, call on someone. All right, that's right. I need to rotate so that I have the 75 and the 75-degree angle in the same position. So once I rotate it, my 75 degrees will be here. My 10 will be here. My X will be here. And my 14 will be on the bottom. So let me relabel these. Y is at the top. Z is over here, and X is right here. All right, so now that I've flipped them, how am I going to set up a proportion to solve for X? I'm going to walk you through this first one, and then the next two slides are practices for you to do. I'd like you to take notes on what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to set up my proportion like I normally do. I've got my line, my equal sign. Now we don't have a percent here. So what I do is I make sure that I keep triangles together. So this first part is going to be triangle 1. The second one is going to be triangle 2. So let's see. Triangle 1. I'm going to take the numbers 15 and 27 because I only need 2 numbers. I'm going to put 15 on the top and 27 on the bottom. I could have chosen 21 if I wanted to, okay? So any 2 numbers, not an angle though, okay? So I've got those 2 numbers. Now I'm going to look over to triangle 2. Which number on triangle 2 matches up with 15? Well, if you look, number 10 is right there with 15. So it's going to go next to 15 in my proportion equation. So what number is going to go or match up with the 27 on this triangle? Well, if you take a look, that is our unknown, so x is going here. Now we've got a proportion, and you should all know how to solve a proportion. My first step, I'm going to cross multiply. So if I follow my arrow on this side, I'm going to have 27 times 10 is equal to 15 times x. Good. Now I'm going to do that out. What's 27 times 10? It's going to be 270, and 15 times x is 15x. Now I need to isolate my variable. I'm going to change colors again so you see that. To isolate my variable, I divide by the number that's with it. So I got to get rid of the 15, and I do the same thing to the other side. So my answer is going to be 270 divided by 15. So I'm going to take out my calculator. 270 divided by 15 equals 18. So that missing side is 18. Too easy. Now let's try it for ourselves. Here is your first practice. I've got the steps on the side to remind you. Label it. So marking. So if 7 is the same as 14, look, I've already gotten you halfway there. Set it up with your proportion, right? And then solve. Miss Beatty, if you would pause the video, let them solve, and then you can play it for the solution. All right, I'm going to solve. So I already marked up half of it for you. So I'm going to mark up the rest of it. This side's going to be here, and this side's going to be here. Good. So I see that I want to use 7, which matches up with 14. Okay. Now I need to solve for the x, and the 7 happens to be with the x. Now what side on the other triangle matches up with the x? It would be 6. Now we follow our regular pattern. I need to cross multiply. So I end up with x times 14 equals 7 times 6. So I multiply and I get 14x equals 42. Now I need to isolate my variable, so I got to get rid of the 14 with the x. Do the same thing to the other side, and I get x equals 3. How'd we do, ladies and gentlemen? Now, if these sides had been labeled, I'd want to make sure that my answer was labeled. So whether it's inches or feet or meters, I'd make sure I had that in too, okay? So let's try to solve this challenge one. I'm going to actually switch these. So number 1 should be your rotation, right? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. I see my 72 degrees here and my 72 degrees here. So think about how you need to move that triangle to make them match up. Then we can label, set up, and solve. Miss Beatty, please pause right now, and when the rest of the class is ready, we can review. All right, let's see how everyone did. I see where my 72 is, and I think I am going to need to flip it this way. So it's going to end up looking like this. I want my 72 and my 72 to match up. Same thing with my 35, right? So now I can replace the numbers. 46 inches was here. 82 inches was on the bottom. All right, so now I can mark it up. I see that the 23 matches with the 46, okay, and then the 82 goes with my x. So now I can simply solve. I'm going to set up 23 inches and x. And what matches up with the 23? I already marked it. So 46 inches and 82. What's my next step? Cross multiply 46x. And then I'm just going to make this quick, okay? So I'm going to do 23 times 82 in my calculator. 23 times 82 is 1,886. Okay, now I need to isolate my variable. So 46 is with the x. I'm going to divide by 46. Same thing on the other side. So if I do that problem in my calculator, x equals 41. How many people got it right? Excellent work. So that is the end of your review. Good luck.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.